Hello and welcome back to the Money Bear. This is your host, Chloe Daniels, better known as Clover Money Coach on the internet. And today we have one of your guys' favorites. We're doing Reddit reactions. So I have pulled up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories from Reddit that in some way relate to money. So we're pulling both from the relationship Reddit, it's called the relationship_advice thread in Reddit. And then we're also pulling from the Am I the Asshole thread in Reddit. So we've got some juicy stories that I am reading totally blind. I have not read these before. I'm going to react as a money expert, as a money coach, as somebody who cares about people's finances. And I'm excited. We haven't done one of these in a while. And I know you guys really enjoy these. So we're going to try to do these at least once a month because I enjoy them too, because these stories are crazy. So we're going to get to it. If you're watching the reel and notice my unmade bed in the background, I'm also doing this in the middle of laundry day. So yeah. And then after this, I head to Big Bear. So this is kind of like a good way to send off the week, right? All right, we're going to get to it. But before we do, a friendly reminder that if you haven't subscribed or rated or reviewed us, it means a lot to us. So please take a second to do that. Pause, take a moment to be like, I love Chloe, or this is the best podcast ever, or whatever you want. It helps us out a lot. And it tells me that this is a podcast that you want us to keep doing. It's one of those things where lately, especially, I've been thinking like, okay, how I'm spending my time and trying to decide what sort of things in the business should I be keeping? What sort of things should I be letting go of? And I will say we are kind of going through this moment of, do we want to keep doing the podcast? I think we want to do the podcast, but I need to hear from you guys. So let me know, how do you feel? Like, if we weren't doing the podcast anymore, how would you feel? Are you enjoying this? What do you like about it? What have you learned? We could use our listeners' support. So definitely take a second to do that, and we will go ahead and dive in. All right. So the first one comes from from the relationship subreddit, the relationship_advice subreddit. And the title is I, female 25, found out my fiancé, male 27, is with me for money/family business. To preface, my family owns a business that is very well known in our sector and makes loads of profit. Thus, I am a trust fund baby. I try not to be spoiled, and I have always worked myself. I wanted to move my screen. I met my fiance, Mark, when I was 20 and working as a waitress. We began dating a few months later, and he proposed to me last year. Now, Mark is not poor. He is upper middle class, and while he doesn't struggle in life, he didn't have too much to spend and live very frugal. I thought he was an honest man because he always wanted to pay for his own things, reject expensive family holidays when we were still dating, and he would cook for me instead of going with me dining outside. What I want to say is that I never had the impression that Mark was trying to take advantage of me or my family. In the beginning, my family was a little sketched out and brought up the gold digger argument, and I stood up for him and fought with my dad. They came to love and accept him. When Mark graduated, Dad hired him, and now he is in a high earning position. Sunday, I was supposed to work in the evening, and I was going to stay with my sister, but I got a fever and was basically just non-functioning, so I stayed home. Instead of staying in our bedroom, I made my way to the guest bedroom that is better ventilated, has a mini fridge, and its own bathroom. I didn't want to stand up at all and walk around, so I just bunkered my stuff there and closed the door. Mark came home when I was fast asleep, and I was woken up by loud voices in our garden. I pushed the curtains a bit to the side, and Mark was there with a few friends. Just as I wanted to say hello, I noticed they were all talking about me. His friend kept laughing and calling Mark the man. They started laughing about me not being willing to sign a prenup. Is that what she meant? They started laughing about me being willing to not sign a prenup. Then one of the girls that was there said something along the lines of, Jesus, you're about to make some bank, Mark. And Mark laughed and said, yeah, just 3 more years and I am free. Oh my gosh. So she's saying she was willing to not sign a prenup. Okay. I wanted to make that clear because it was worded strange. At this moment, I felt so sick to my stomach and I wanted to throw up. I kept hearing them calling me trust fund Barbie and stupid and so on. I didn't know what to do, so I just lied, petrified in my bed, and waited till the people left and Mark went to bed. I texted my sister and snuck out of her place in the middle of the night, and I just passed out without telling her anything. I have not returned home, and I just told Mark that I was sick and I didn't want to make him sick. My sister has been really worried, but I just feel so ashamed about everything. My family was right. Mark is a gold digger and I fell for it. Even if I tell my family what happened, I have no proof. My father can't fire him just because he is a dick. As far as I know, he is excellent at what he does and he has no legal footing to just fire him, I think. I feel so confused, ashamed, and angry and would appreciate some insight. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is horrifying. This is horrifying and so calculated. And how long have they been dating? I met him when I was 20, 5 years, 5 years. And he's saying, oh, just 3 more years. So he wants to waste 8 years of her life because he wants to make some money. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This poor woman. Okay. So there's a bunch of edits. I want to read the edits before I go in and comment on this because this is crazy. And it's like, I don't know what she should do. I think that she should talk to him. But at the same time, like that's a pretty clear indication if he's saying just 3 more years. Like I would move out, I would move in with my family, and then I would confront him and say, like, I heard what you said, and I know you're not with me because you love me. You're with me because you want to like essentially make money from this relationship. And it sounds like you're gonna leave me in 3 years. And like, here's the thing, even if like he was joking, or even if that's not the case, him talking about you to his friends like that is so disrespectful. And like the lack of respect, calling you stupid, calling you trust fund Barbie, things like that. This is not the type of person you want to be with. And those friends are not the type of friends you want to be surrounded with. And like, obviously they're his friends, it sounds like, but I mean, I'm assuming if you guys have been together for 5 years, they've probably become your friends as well. So that's my initial reaction, but let's look at all the edits. So edit, we are non-US. Mark wasn't talking about anything else. He has no debt and he partly was under a scholarship with part of it and I helped pay for it. So I guess it sounds like his schooling, she helped pay for a part of it. There is no way he wasn't talking about me. Edit number 2. Thank you for all your great advice. I opened up to my sister about it and she is right now with me reading all your responses. We've called up dad and I will talk to him tomorrow. I'll be signing out for the time being. Thanks again. Edit 3. Some questions have come up. I don't drive. That's why my fiance didn't see my car. I mostly Uber around. I worked as a waitress for experience, not for the money, and I don't any longer. I don't work for my father. I'm a company shareholder and I have to go to the general quarter meetings, but I don't work for him. I am sure that it wasn't a fever dream. It was around 38.5 C and it was enough for my body to hurt. It wasn't enough to have a vivid dream. Oh, so people in the comments must be saying that she was having like a fever dream, but I passed out at my sister's. Don't team literal medical passing out. Got it. Okay. Last edit. I'm really tired that you guys are defending him, saying that it could have been a joke. Guess what? It's not fucking funny. I can't believe people in the comments are saying it's a joke. You don't degrade or disrespect your partner for laughs. You don't go along calling them stupid, trust fund Barbie, stupid bitch, and you definitely don't make remarks yourself. I don't understand that macho bravado, as many of you have called it, but I don't think it's okay. So stop with those comments. It was deeply hurtful. Ooh, so let's go to the comments. Okay. The top voted comment is, this is an ugly, calculated act of betrayal. Tell your dad this guy intends to harm your entire family. And it also sounds like they're just engaged. They're not married yet, which is good. But oh my gosh. I mean, it's a blessing that she overheard him say this when they were engaged, right? This sounds like a movie. It sounds like such a villain movie. It almost doesn't sound real. And I'm sure it is real because I don't know why you would post this if it wasn't, but it's like, it sounds like the villain arch. Like it's so, what are the chances that she just happened to pop her head out and that instead of saying hello, she heard them talking about her? Somebody else said, your dad will find a way to fire him, by the way. Might have to pay the fiance off depending on labor laws in your country, but there's always a way to dismiss employees. He can make him redundant and pay redundancy to get rid of him. Be grateful you found out before you got married. Kick him out and never look back. Completely and fully agree. Another person said, change things up on him. Tell him you've thought it over and you would want to sign a prenup. Watch his reaction and then leave his sorry ass. I love that idea because number one, yes, you should always sign a prenup. Anybody should sign a prenup. Like it doesn't matter if you don't have any money. It doesn't matter if you don't have any assets, because if you do have assets, if you gain assets along the way, if you start a business, and that's why prenups or postnups can be a really great option. In fact, I should bring a prenup lawyer on sometime to talk about it because I would love to hear a prenup and postnup lawyer, family attorney come on and talk about the process. And I know that's something that interests you guys. So let us know if that's something that does interest you. But one of the comments conferred and said, yep, hey, that prenup, if he fights you on it at all, you can just calmly say, well, trust fund Barbie wants to protect her assets, especially in 3 years' time, and let him explain himself. He's a piece of shit. If I were you, I'd have fun making him squirm. P.S. My dad may not be able to fire him for being a piece of shit, but he can now pay extra close attention or maybe not let anything fly like he may have for his future son-in-law. That's, yeah, so true. This is just so wild. I cannot believe that people are like this, that like somebody would plan 8 years of their life and spend time with somebody for 8 years just to get a payout and like hurt them, like fully hurt them. Obviously, this is her life. Somebody else said, don't tell them you know yet. Pull your money out of any joint accounts. Good tip. Get off any credit cards. Yes, another good tip. Then ditch him and lawyer up just in case. What is this 3 more years thing he's talking about? Is that when your trust fund pays out? Thank God you didn't marry him. Completely agree. 2 years thing is how long we would need to be married to her before he would be entitled to her money and alimony support. Oh my gosh, because it sounds like she's not in the US. It sounds like they're different. So I'm assuming 3 years in their country is like the laws or something. But damn, I didn't see any comments saying like not supporting her. Let me see if I'm just scanning the comments really fast. I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry. It sucks because it's like, and I didn't even see any comments about like, was this a fever dream? Because how could this be? This would be so specific for a fever dream. And it sounds like she's pretty clear that she wasn't that sick. She was sick, but not that sick. OP, I'm so sorry to the poster. It sounds like this was from 2009. So hopefully she's out living her best life. 2009. Oh my gosh, that was 14 years ago. So she's now 39. I'm so curious it's a throwaway account. So she's not like making, there's an update, guys. Wait a second. This says it was created in 2008. Okay. It looks like this was like an edit or something. I don't know how this works, that this one came out before the original post. Maybe it's a multiple post or something. I don't know, but it's the same account. So let's see here. Update. Oh my God. I'm so excited that there's an update. All right. She said, I was very tempted to play the long game and lead him on, but I decided just to present him with a prenup to look into his reaction. Brilliant. After telling my dad, we invited Mark to lunch and would serve him the prenup there. However, to be sure about things, I asked him if he had anyone over because our neighbors had complained about loud noises. He said yes, that his buddies were there and didn't mention the girls that I saw. We finished lunch and dad served him the papers saying that it's a must for getting married. You would instantly see that he didn't expect this. He got angry and asked me to speak with him alone. We went into the other room and he began babbling about blindsiding him and that this just really felt like a personal attack. He was trying so hard to sell me on the role of victim and making me out to be the villain. And he just said that he didn't think that everything was thorough and left. I have to admit, I kind of broke down and began second guessing myself, but I could keep it together. My family happily did not pull the I told you so. We looked into everything and I have the legal right to evict him. The lawyer handled everything, wrote an official eviction notice. And after a lot of talk, dad decided to present Mark with a deal so that he would leave the company. Oh, we love that. That's amazing. We looked into everything and I have the legal right to evict him. Beautiful. She's getting an official eviction notice. And he's also having Mark leave the company. Problem solved. Problems left and right solved. Must be nice having like a super powerful dad, I gotta say. Like, I don't want to diminish the pain that she's going through, but I'm like, wow, what is that like to just be like, hello, sir, I can ruin your whole plot with this one like serving of papers. Like, beautiful. This should be a movie. It probably is. Now, after that was all sorted out, I decided to simply text, as one of you suggested, hey, Mark, Trust Fund Barbie here. As you said, you would be free in 3 years, and I'll do you a big favor and set you free now. Kisses, OP. My phone completely blew up with Mark's messages after I sent that. He texted and called me so many times I had to switch off my phone. He came to my sister's place as he wanted to explain the situation. He promised that it was just a joke like a million times. I said it wasn't cutting it. They disrespected me in my own house, and I didn't want to be with somebody who puts me down in order to appear better. He pleaded with her. He cried. He begged me not to end things. And when I wasn't budging, he got mad and accused me of spying on him and ruining his life. Honestly, I don't know. Classic is all I got to say. We'll go back to that. Then his manner changed completely again to apologetic. He eventually owed up to the comments he made, still insisting that this was just a shitty joke. And then when I asked him why he didn't tell me about those random girls that appeared to know so much about me, he told me this weird story of them being cousins from one of his buddies that he knew and because of my Instagram. What? And that they know me because of my Instagram. Shit's private and I have like 30 followers. I stood strong and I ended things with him. I will never know what exactly his plan was, but it's better to have things this way. So we still have to sort out some financial stuff, but after that, I won't ever see Mark again. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you, OP. The OP is throw RA Maestri, which actually it looks like it's not a throwaway. It looks like they're posting a lot. There's a few edits, but before I get to the edits, I just gotta say, damn, girl, damn. That's like you power hauled that. You did it. I'm proud of you. Like, I don't even know you, but I'm proud of you. But way to use the resources that you had available to put Mark in his grave because he deserved that. I mean, here's the thing that I'm learning is like, if you cannot trust your partner, you don't have a relationship. Like, trust is the biggest thing. And like, I get it. Some of us are working to rebuild trust, or we're doing things, or our partner is doing things to regain trust. That is possible. But like this level of betrayal, I just don't think it's even possible to come back from it. So I'm so proud of you for going and getting this done. So hell yeah. I can't believe people are like going in there and just being like, you ruined his life. Excuse me. Excuse me. Y'all, no, he ruined his own life. He ruined his own life. She almost had her life ruined by this greedy bastard. So that was really satisfying. And oh my gosh, I'm now seeing the comments, the mean ones. Somebody said women do this all the time for a man's money and stability. STFU. Are you kidding me? Oh, people are crazy. People are crazy. Oh, okay. Now I'm seeing why there was a date discrepancy. It looks like the one that we read was like another one. Like she had reposted it or something. So, all right. Well, I appreciate this story. That was quite the wild way to start off, huh? All right. We are moving into the next one. So this is also from relationship_advice. Guys, I think maybe we should just make this whole podcast a Reddit podcast because I enjoy these so much. Like, this is actually what is fun for me. And I love telling the tips and things like that too. I think that's also important. So we'll continue to do the money tips, but like this is juicy shit. I love it. And if I can educate you through juicy stories like this, win, right? Win. Okay. So next one has 12.1 thousand upvotes, which just is like a like. So here we go. This is from Dr_Naptime. Great handle. Hi, everyone. Long time lurker, first time poker. Oh, I should probably say the title, huh? I, 32 male, make significantly more money than my new girlfriend, 26 female, and it's causing problems. This is going to be juicy because I feel like this is something that I hear from our community a lot. So I'm excited to dive in. Hi, everyone. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. This may just be a problem I'm identifying in my head, and I know you are all good at cutting through the bullshit, so hopefully you can help. I'm an anesthesiologist in Washington, D.C., and I make over $300,000 a year. Consequently, I live a comfortable life, and while I have a significant amount of medical school debt, I am pretty financially stable for the foreseeable future. I'm glad to spend a little bit more than most would on a special dinner, gifts, and things because I'm pretty much guaranteed the salary for the rest of my career. My gal works at a nonprofit and makes $55,000 a year. She's a bit of a penny pincher, happy to spend money on trips and dining out, but budgets religiously and tracks every penny she spends. Go, girl. We've been dating for about 4 months now, and it's going really well. I love spending time with her. The issue is I think she's uncomfortable with how much money I make. Whenever I take her out on a date, I insist on paying for everything. this makes perfect sense for me because money I spend to take her out is a drop in the ocean. But for her, it would probably add up. But sometimes she doesn't let me or doesn't want me to pay. She insists on splitting the bill, or if I pay, she'll try and pay the next time we hang out. I told her time and time again that I'm more than happy to pay for things. Spending time with her makes me happy. So I'll be glad to drop a couple $100 a month on dinners, drinks, movies, etc. But she always insists that she can pay her own way and she doesn't need to be taken care of. One time, she had to miss a flight to visit a friend. It was non-refundable and she was out $300. When she's complaining about it to me, I immediately offered to give her the $300 back just so she wouldn't feel bad about losing the money, but she rejected me and said she just needed to vent. It's really not a problem in the grand scheme of things. I just think it's silly that she spends money on me when I make more a year and than what she would make in 5. And like I said, I'm happy to treat her. Any thoughts on how to navigate this? I especially would like to hear from people in relationships with huge income differences. Oh, this ended up being such a sweet one because, like, okay, first of all, what is 55? 55 is what, 5 times less than what he makes? Yeah, a little bit more than 5 times less. So I think that he has the best intentions. And I actually think that his viewpoint on this is reasonable, that he should be paying for most things. Like the reason I wanted to see what is like the times amount, she makes 5 times more than 5 times less than what he makes. That means she should only be paying if she wants like 1/5 of the times. She out of 5 times that they go out, she should only be paying maybe one out of those 5 times. And like it's not a perfect thing because like, what if he's spending significantly more? Is she also expected to spend the same amount? And my answer would be no. I think she should not be. I think that maybe once every 5 times she could do something if that's really important to her, but she's got to look at proportionality here. The proportion of what she makes versus what he makes is a huge difference. And she doesn't want to be put in a bad financial situation because she's trying to keep up with an anesthesiologist when she's a nonprofit and she works at a nonprofit and she's younger. I mean, she's 6 years younger than he is. He's a little bit more established. So I think this sounds like a really good dude because he's noticing that. And also now to go back to his handle, Dr. Nap Time, that's amazing knowing he's an anesthesiologist. I think she clearly needs to work through some stuff. I think a lot of us women, or I don't want to speak for all women. I'm not speaking for all women, but I understand where she's coming from because I have been there where when I was making the least amount of money and dating somebody who was making 3 times more than I was, at least a little more than 3 times, I actually found it frustrating that he always wanted to split everything because he would pick the restaurants, then the restaurants were always nicer than what I would have picked. And I did everything I could to keep up, but it was just, do you not care about me? Like, you're the one who's wanting me to upgrade my lifestyle in order to keep up with you. And it's like, I can't do it. But I didn't have the humility to say, hey, I can't do this all the time. Like, this isn't working for me. And he obviously didn't care. So, yeah, I don't think that things should be a 50-50 split most of the time. Like, the only time it should be a 50-50 split if you are making actual, like if you guys are both making the same amount of money. And even then I question that just because women do a lot of the emotional labor in relationships and in partnerships and things like that, especially when we're talking about heterosexual relationships, which I can only speak to because I've only been in a heterosexual relationship despite being a bisexual woman. So yeah, I don't know. It sounds like she's got some stuff she needs to work through. And I don't know how long. They've only been dating for 4 months. So it's likely she just wants to make it really clear that she's not with him for his money. Like, women often get told when we're in a income disparity relationship and the woman is making less, we get told that we're gold diggers and that we're with them for the money and that, you know, all of that shit. And so it's like you've got that ingrained in you already when in a relationship like that. And so in my mind as well, if I was also making significantly less than the person I was dating, I would have those societal bullshit telling me like, I got to make sure he knows I'm not with him for the money. So it sounds like he's making it very clear that, hey, I want to do this. And I think she's made her point that she's not with him for the money. So it may just be this gradual thing that happens over time. I actually didn't think this was where the conversation was going to go. And I really love that it didn't go in the direction that I thought. I thought he was going to say, this is a problem. I don't want to, you know, have to pay for everything. And it's an issue, which is something that I see a lot. And we've talked about that in our relationship episode. But yeah, I thought this was actually really wholesome. So I think to be able to have a conversation with her and say, hey, I'm happy with you paying 1/5 of the time. or even 1/6 of the time. Because here's the thing, I make 5 times more than you, more than 5 times more than you. And I am perfectly happy to sit down and like go over our expenses or whatever, even though we're really not at that stage. That's actually not what I would do. I'd say, I want to do this for you. I make 5 times more than you, which means that I should be able to pay for things 5 times more than you do. And I love that you want to contribute. I love that you are showing your independence and you feel really happy about that, or you feel really strongly about that. But like, there are some things that I want to do that I worry might be out of your budget. And I don't want you to stress about that when it's not an issue for me. Would you be willing to let me pay 5 times more than you do? Like sitting down and having that really blatant conversation may be helpful, and like acknowledging that it's really sweet that she wants to pay, that it's really sweet that she doesn't want to take money from him. And it's really sweet that she's like, no, I am, out here being a independent woman and I don't want you to pay for anything. That's like, okay, but let's do it within reason. So, and it sounds like he has had those conversations where he's like, I love spending time with you. I'm happy to spend this because I love spending time with you. And this is like, I'm happy to do things that make you happy. And I love that. So what a good dude. Now, I want to see what the comment said because I'm very curious. All right. So, the first top voted comment was, for her, it's an independence and self respect way of thinking. She has made her way in the world and does not want to feel indebted to you. Also, some people in the situation who have this kind of income imbalance like to make it a form of manipulation in a relationship. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. However, y'all have only been dating for 4 months. Trust and boundaries still need to be established fully for each side in this relatively new relationship. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. So, and I like too that this person pointed out that sometimes that income balance can result in manipulation in a relationship. And she may have experienced that in a relationship in the past, and she may be working towards that. So maybe talking through that of like, hey, like, where's this coming from? Why do you feel like you need to pay for everything? Why do you feel like we need to split everything? I love you. And you guys might not be at the I love you stage. So again, you are only 4 months in. So exactly what this person said, the trust and boundaries are still growing. They're still evolving and changing. So I want to see these other comments. I was thinking the same, but you phrased it better. I'd also like to add that it's a huge accomplishment in the sense of adulthood to be able to afford things on your own. Trying to pay for everything can deprive someone of that feeling good that I worked hard now and I can afford X feeling. As long as she isn't going into debt necessarily or needlessly just to try and financially compete, I don't see the issue. Somebody else said, coming from a guy that's following OP's fast path, I just wanted to say that we in part put ourselves through so many years of training and stress, sacrificing our youth so that we can give our partner and our family a good life. It comes from a place of love, but I appreciate how it can cause strain. I love that the thought of being able to treat my beautiful partner to whatever she wants. And honestly, it's those thoughts that get me through the days where I feel like I can't keep going. I don't want it to be seen as money versus her money, just offering an alternative point of view and seeing if anyone has input. I love that. That's so sweet. I think these are, I mean, they're pretty much on par with what I was saying is agreed. I was in a similar situation. The girl had 2 kids and always worried what about money. I volunteered to help, which she rejected. And I pretty much forced my help on her, which she appreciated and actually made a huge difference in her life. But in the end, she confessed feeling indebted to me. I really did a number in our relationship. My desire to fix it and make things better actually made things worse between us. The feeling of being indebted in some ways eclipsed her emotional connection. In the end, I'm happy that I was able to help her through some tough times and get her a better situation, but I hate that cost ended up being the end of our relationship. Oh, see, this is what happens with money trauma, guys. This is why we have to go to therapy if we can afford it. This is why we have to work through those mental barriers, because to me, if somebody's coming in with good intentions and does want to help support you and you are in a trusting, loving relationship, and like that's the key is like we have to be in a loving, trusting relationship in order to not feel this indebtedness. And so either there wasn't the love and the trust that was there to feel safe enough to be able to be like, yes, I accept your help. I accept you paying for more things or whatever. Or there's some trauma there. There's some financial trauma that's preventing you from allowing someone to show up in your life in that way. So it sounds like therapy, because it's so sad to imagine someone not being able to be in a relationship where they feel safe and taken care of, and both financially and emotionally, because of feeling indebted, So, but again, it's with that asterisk of ideally we are in a relationship where somebody doesn't make us feel indebted, where somebody doesn't make it tit for tat, and where you do feel safe to lean on them, that's perfect scenario. And I recognize that so many of us, we're only seeing these Reddit commenters. We don't know if they are in safe relationships. We don't know if they are being made to feel safe. And so I think what OP needs to do is to continue to like create that safe space, and like slowly over time, it will hopefully massage its way out. And it's like, as she gets more comfortable, it just means that your boundaries and trust is going to change, So yeah, I don't know, talking about it, understanding where she's coming from, understanding what her reason is behind it, because you may discover some financial trauma. You may discover the reason why she wants to pay for things. You may discover what her fears are or what's causing her to do this. But as somebody else said, if she's not going into debt or she's not putting aside financial goals to make this happen, maybe she's budgeting for dating. Maybe she doesn't have any debt. Maybe her expenses are really low. We don't necessarily know, but I think the key is having a conversation about it. So I love this. I love it. And I love somebody else in OP. If she insists on paying for dinner or trips from time to time, let her. And I think that's fine. 1 out of 5 times because she makes 5 times less. Oh, it's hard. It's hard because we are trying to find this balance of like equality, but also recognizing that equality isn't like this easy blanket thing. We are not at an equal state of being in between genders. We are still very much seeing wealth gaps in between the sexes, especially when we're looking at minority communities and things like that. So like there's the wealth gap that we're already looking at. And then on top of it, this huge gap in their own income. So it's like, it's not equal. If you are paying half of the time when you're making 5 times less, that is not equal. That's not equal at all. So equal would be you paying 1/5 of the time or 1/6 of the time. Oh, I just want to give the little 26-year-old who's paying for all of those expenses a hug because, yeah, I get it. I've been there and I feel like I relate to that a lot. All right. All right, friends, we're moving on. So now we're getting into my favorite Reddit sub thread or whatever they're called, Reddit thread called Am I the Asshole? I don't know where that music came from. I think I'm excited because I'm leaving for Big Bear soon. So just feeling light. And I also just love my new neck tattoo. Like every time I look at myself, I'm like, that's a bad bitch. Look at that. Look at that neck tattoo. That's a bad bitch. And also it kind of balances out how trap dominant I am. I feel like my neck looks a little longer, maybe. I don't know. It's a slimming effect. I got a tattoo for a slimming effect. Just kidding. All right, let's move on for what you guys are here for. Am I the asshole for charging my friends rent, then keeping the money for myself? Isn't that basically house hacking, right? So let's see what this says. This would be my first year in college. When I got accepted, the first person I told was my uncle. We're very close because he took care of me when I was little because my parents' crazy work schedules. Anyway, my grades were good enough for me to get in, but not enough for me to get any scholarships. That means I'll have to take out loans for tuition and work for my expenses. When my uncle found out, he said I should just concentrate on school instead of working. But my dad, his brother, said that money is tight right now, so my parents can't help me out as much as they want to. My uncle has investment properties all over the place, so he said it's not a big deal for him to buy another one near my campus, which he did. And then he had contractors renovate the house, so emerging in there is brand new. I think he meant everything. He even had them install a bay window in the master bedroom just for me, and I got to pick out everything else like carpet and counters. God damn, this is nice. Nice. What's that TikTok sound? This is nice. Tiffany Haddish's, which we don't stand Tiffany Haddish, but that was the sound that reminded me of. He told me he wants to concentrate on school and not work. Instead, I can be his landlady and rent out the other 3 bedrooms and keep that money to fund my expenses. Whew. I have a group of friends who are attending the same school, so I made a deal with them. Studio apartments are going between $900 and $1,500, not including utilities around the campus, with the expensive ones being closer. My uncle's house is 1 street over from campus, so I can literally walk to class every day. I'm charging my friends $700 per room, or if they double up, $350 per person per month, and split utilities evenly. They all jumped at the offer, and no one asked any questions until recently when one of them asked me how much overall the rent was. I was honest and told them about my uncle and our deal. They blew up in my face because now every one of my friends are calling me greedy for charging them rent and pocketing the money. We're all in a huge fight, and they all either want or want to either pay nothing or throw a couple hundred in for utilities. I cried to my uncle. I love that he admitted that he cried to my uncle. I cried to my uncle, but he said that now I'm an adult. I need to make my own adult decision. He'll stand by my decision. I don't want to lose my friends, but I don't want to disappoint my family with bad grades either. I thought I was being fair with rent, but literally all my friends are calling me a greedy asshole. This is juicy. Okay, so here's the thing. He's trying to use studio apartments as comps, which a studio apartment is not a comp for renting a room. So in his mind, he's thinking $700 for a room. That's such a good price, but it's not. You're not getting your own individual kitchen. You're also not getting like your own private space. You're sharing it with several other human beings. That is not comparable to a studio apartment. So, and I can't tell, it sounds like it's not. They're not all having their own kitchens and things like that. They're not having their own bathrooms and things like that. So that's problem number one. He is overcharging, I would say, for one room in a house. And again, that's so shitty to be like, or you guys can split a room and pay $350 each. I do think that's kind of shitty. And I think that's kind of greedy as well, because yeah, you're kind of like lording over them, and these are your friends. So the other part that I think is kind of shitty is like, number one, you're overcharging. If you're charging for a room, you got to look at what are rooms renting in your area. And my guess is, I don't know, $700 seems a little high. I would think it would be closer to 500, and 500 would be better. Even if 700 was the standard, offering your friends a discount, I think, especially when you are not out any money, is better. The little like business, I love that you're like starting a business owner. And this is, guys, this is how generational wealth is built. Like, if anybody who doubts generational wealth, which I don't think generational wealth is doubted, but like this kid just got a huge leg up. Free rent, helping with school, helping with his expenses. Like his uncle just gave him a business, which is insane. Like he just gave him a very profitable business too, because he's got no expenses. So I think number one, the way that this should have been mitigated is he should have been honest with his friends from the very beginning. Hey, my uncle bought a house. He's not charging me for it. And I have these rooms. Would you want to come live with me? You know, I am either going to rent it out to strangers or I'm going to rent it out to you guys. Obviously, if I'm renting out to you guys, I will be charging you less. But I just want to make it clear that I'm doing this for income purposes because I could live here alone. I don't have to pay anything. But, you know, it's kind of a win if you decide to come stay, put a couple $100 in my pocket every month, and you get a cheaper place to live. Like, is that something? And then we could all live as friends. So I think that's like the communication up front would have been much better. And like, you know, we split utilities evenly, but like $700 per room to your friends when a studio apartment's going for $900 to me doesn't seem fair. So talking to them, being like, this is what I was going to charge a stranger. If I had a stranger come in and live with me, I would have charged them $700 or whatever. But since it's you guys, you know, I was thinking maybe 400 or maybe $500 and no utilities, you know, so that way they can make that informed decision and then they don't feel like you're just being an asshole. You know what I mean? So that's number one, is the communication clearly wasn't there. And like, these are your friends. Like, these are your friends. You don't want to screw over your friends and you don't want to come off as greedy either. So it's not about coming off as greedy. It's more like you don't want to be greedy. Number two, if they weren't down for that, then you should have just like gotten roommates, gotten people who needed a housing, and you didn't have to have this conversation with them. You didn't have to say, hey, this place is free, because it doesn't matter if it's free. Like if it's strangers and they're coming to live with you, it does not matter. They would have to pay rent no matter where else they went. They're not wondering who's making the money most of the time, especially as college students. But then you could actually charge what you want to charge. But if you want to charge $700 per room or $350 like to split, that's probably you going off and getting roommates, not having your friends come stay with you. So I do think it's like a touchy situation. I think that you should have likely had a better conversation with them. But what's interesting is, I will tell you guys, I don't think that he's an asshole. I think he's a young kid who's not thinking about it. So that's all. I don't know. I'm sure the real estate gurus would disagree with me and say he's not an asshole. And the overall vote for this was not an asshole. So here, I want to read some comments because I don't fully agree. I don't think you're an asshole, but I don't think you're approaching this the right way. So this is the top vote is You're not the asshole. They're getting a great deal, but instead of focusing on that, they're seething with envy. Your uncle didn't buy and renovate that home so your jealous friends could have a free place to live in. He invested in that home so you could have a place to stay and an income while you're in school. Don't back down, OP. Your friends are not entitled to free roof over their heads just because you have one. Good point. Fair. Fair. I still think there should have been a better conversation though. And I think that's where it went wrong. I do think $700, if they're not getting studio apartments, I think $700 is a little bit much, but I don't know the area. So what else does somebody say? These must be all like real estate investors. And I agree. Like, I don't think that his friend should stay there for free. That's ridiculous. Okay. Somebody else said, OP's friends are entitled AF. They're getting a great deal, one that they cannot get anywhere else, but they want more. This is okay. I have to question that because we don't know if it's a great deal. Is it a great deal? Is it a great deal? His only comps were a studio apartment. The idea that just because you own something free and clear, you can't charge rent, that's a lunatic notion. The use of real estate has a value separate and apart from how real estate is financed. There's also a lesson here for OP and the problems of mixing business with personal relationships. Being the landlord for your friends and family can be tricky. Not always, but it's also not rare. It's not the best practice. Very true. Very true. And that's kind of what I was saying. Another one said, ooh, I don't think I'm going to like this comment. I have honestly noticed this type of attitude towards renting with most of the younger generation, not to sound like a crotchety old lady or anything. Rent covers a safe space for yourself and privacy, climate-controlled space to store your stuff, wear and tear on the home and facilities you use, renters' rights once a lease is signed, etc. I have no idea why so many people think they are entitled to a free living space if they are renting from a friend or a family. I rented a room from my bestie that owned a house back in the day. I felt good knowing that my rent was going towards my good friend and his mortgage instead of some unknown entity that owned a big block of apartments. OP is very lucky to not have a mortgage, but that does not mean she has to subsidize other people's lives. I think the quote unquote younger generation is upset with the fact that we cannot rent an affordable place anymore because of all the investors coming in and scooping up rental properties. And then not only that, Airbnbs coming in and short-term rentals coming in and scooping up all the properties available, that becoming a first-time home buyer. We're not saying we don't want to pay anything, but like reasonable would be nice. Why is it that we have to pay a ridiculous amount in rent that just continues to climb when homeowners who bought 10 years ago, or homeowners, house hackers, and people who are buying up all these investment properties get to live rent-free, like get to live mortgage-free, because people like us who have not had the opportunity to get into the real estate market early, or have not had generational wealth, or have not had an uncle come and buy us a property, we literally can't buy. We can't, like, we have to stretch our budgets. We have to go deep into debt. We have to wait years to afford a down payment that may or may not even get accepted, because we are competing not with other first-time home buyers. We are competing with highly skilled and highly capitalized investors, people who have money, who have private investors. So that's the frustration. I don't think that the younger generation is crying about not wanting to pay for a roof over our heads. We're perfectly fine with paying for a roof over our heads. But like when the mortgage is $1,000 and we're paying $3,000 for it, it's frustrating. It's frustrating that it's hard to buy it. Like, it feels impossible to buy a house. And that's coming from somebody who has a business that brings in over $500,000 in revenue a year. And like our profit margins are over 50%. So like, yeah, that made me angry. That made me angry because it is not simple to just be like, yeah, like young people, we just want free living space. No, I agree. The friends should be paying something. Absolutely. But my thing is, there should have been a better conversation. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? Edit. Some people are taking offense to my use of younger generation. The reason I say this is it's very common on Am I the Asshole to see posts about first-time renters surprised they have to pay rent when they're out of towns for 2 weeks and believe it should be subsidized, or thinking that it's okay to have their significant other basically move in and not have to pay a larger part of rent or utilities. That's funny. I didn't know people would ever think that. Of course you have to pay rent. You rent by the month. Also, is it wrong? Also, it's wrong to compare OP to a slumlord, and these friends of hers have never rented before. So please stop bringing up unethical renting practices. That's not what's going on here. Her friends don't have a type of past experiences. I don't know if OP is a woman or a man or what their pronouns are. So let me see if there's anyone that votes that they are the asshole. Actually, I want to see comments in response to this. Yeah, I don't see anybody like disagree. Here we go. Somebody who's agreeing with me. Yes, I am literally just searching the comments to be like, who is going to say what I'm saying? That this is like bullshit. The young people in general also see housing as an essential, inalienable human right, and having the power to take that away from someone based on their ability to pay is therefore inherently unethical. I agree, which I don't actually disagree, but I've lived in the real world long enough to try and fight, not fight against a battle against a friend offering me a good deal. College kids haven't learned that yet. Yeah, I get that. I totally agree with that. Expecting someone else to pay all the costs associated with you having a place to stay isn't very ethical either. Housing doesn't exist in stasis. It constantly requires upkeep and expenditure. Someone has to pay for that. Yes, but I do think that everyone should have housing. I think that's a human right. Like we should all be able to have freaking housing. It's bizarre that we don't see it that way. This could be a controversial podcast for some people. I mean, I think my community is pretty liberal and pretty progressive and knows like these are my feelings on it, but it will be interesting because I know real estate investors are very passionate. Real estate is how you can make a lot of money really quickly. Now, granted, that doesn't come without risks and it doesn't come without headaches and problems, but the ethics of it are questionable. And I tend to question way more the big investors than the mom and pops who own like a couple of rental properties. But unfortunately, more rental properties were purchased in 2020 and 2021 than regular old first time home buyers, people who are looking for a primary residence. So that shows that it is a problem. It's a problem both on the massive scale of the BlackRocks buying up all these properties, but it's also a problem on the real estate investors who are buying up properties and turning them into Airbnbs or short-term rentals. So I think housing is a really nuanced issue. So, and I don't have all the solutions to it. Let me see if there are any other good comments. So basically everyone disagrees with me, but not necessarily. I didn't say he's an asshole. I said you didn't approach it the right way. And to be fair, does he owe it to his friends to tell them that he's got this deal? No. But like if they're truly your friends, wouldn't you want to kind of avoid this situation? And like, wouldn't you want to say, hey, I'm getting a really good deal, therefore I want to give you a really good deal? He's saying $700 is a really good deal. It doesn't seem like a really good deal based off of a studio apartment renting for $900. If it were me, I'd go with the studio apartment. Then I don't have to have roommates. I don't have to deal with this shit. But I don't know the comps. I don't know the area. So with that being said, I think it's more like everyone sucks here. Everyone sucks here because your friends are expecting, like, are calling you greedy rather than just being like, hey, would have been nice if you had told us up in advance. And like, you know, it's kind of weird that you control the rent and like you're just pocketing all of this is all profit for you. Like, that is a little weird. It is a little complicated. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't pay. They should, of course, pay. But I think they probably would have had a different reaction if you had been honest from the beginning. And it doesn't sound like you were necessarily hiding it because, yeah, it's not their business technically. But like if you want to continue to be friends with them, having that open and honest communication, I think is important so that they can decide, do I want to do this, knowing that my friend's pocketing all this money? And like, ideally, yeah, they do want to do it because ultimately you're pocketing the money rather than some rando dude who owns a million different properties and doesn't give a shit about you, you know? So I think the friends are a little bit entitled and greedy for expecting them to only have to throw a couple $100 towards utilities. It's not how the real world works. You still have to pay rent. This is just, do you want to rent from your friend or do you want to rent from somebody else? So interesting. There's one other comment I want to read because it got 11,000 upvotes. So similar happened with someone I know. The issue, they saw you as an equal and now they see you as someone in a position of power over them. They are now lower than you and that's going to breed a whole lot of resentment. That's honestly probably the key of the issue here. What you can do is tell them, look, my uncle wanted to rent these rooms out for X amount each. I convinced him to do me a favor and let the room out to my friends. Convince them they're getting a huge deal and it gives you a shot at salvaging this. Honestly, that's true. That's what I said. So yeah, interesting one. You guys will have to let me know what you thought about this because, all right, we got two more. And this one involves a mother-in-law. And we all know mother-in-laws are juicy. All right, this was posted 6 days ago. Oh, guys, I know what I did wrong. When I was saying that one was from 2009 versus 2008, the reason it was because I was looking at the community. The community was in 2009 and 2008, not the post. This post is from 6 days ago. 6 days ago. This is a hot one. All right. Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay the extra money my mother-in-law put for a gift I didn't ask for? My mother-in-law bought me a new coffee machine. I'm assuming I don't know why, as the one I have is still working fine, but whatever, I accepted. Before leaving, she told me I needed to pay her $30. I asked why, and she said that she planned on putting only $50 into the gift, but the cheapest coffee machine she could find was around $80, so I needed to put the $30 she added for the machine. What? This confused me because if she planned on only putting a certain amount in the gift that I once again didn't ask for, then why not give up on the coffee machine idea and buy something that actually was $50? She said she didn't care about paying more if it made me happy. I said, well, clearly you do care. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask me to pay the extra $30. She said it was just a matter of principle and that if I had manners, I'd pay her. Then she left. Wow. She later texted my husband and said that she's waiting on the $30 and would take back the coffee machine if I didn't give it. I told my husband to respond that she could come back and take it back because I was not going to give her the $30. My husband said it's not okay, or my husband is not okay with that because he got attached to the machine, whatever that means, and just to give her $30. I told him if he wanted to keep the machine, then he should give his mom the money he wants. He said I needed to do it because the gift was originally mine, even though I never asked for it. He said I was making this harder than it needed to be and was selfish to not pay the extra $30 for the coffee machine his mom got me, especially knowing that he likes it. I have a hard time seeing how I'm in the wrong, so I'm coming here to see if I might be a chance that I am in the wrong. Should I just give his mom $30 like she asked and be done with it? What universe are these people living in? How on earth is it your responsibility as somebody who received a gift that you did not ask for to pay for it? That's not a gift. That's a purchase. That's a sale. That's a garage sale. What is happening? And then if her husband is the one who wants to keep it, then her husband should be the one paying the $30. And here it's crazy. It's $30. Like if he wants the coffee machine that costs $80, give his mom $30. Oh my God, this is insane. It's so ridiculous too. Like, first of all, if it's a mother-in-law problem, your husband should be dealing with it. All partners, we should be dealing with our own freaking family members. It shouldn't be your partner's responsibility to deal with your mom or your dad or your brother. It should be your responsibility. That always bothers me. But number two, this is just insane. And I don't know if maybe the mom is really old and she's a little like, I don't know, maybe she's got dementia or she just doesn't think normally. Like, give her back the freaking coffee machine. That way she doesn't do this in the future, because this is really bizarre. It's really weird. And then to like essentially turn her into a victim or into a villain by saying, well, if you had manners, you would just give me the $30. It's like, I didn't ask for this. If you couldn't have afforded the coffee pot that you got me for $80, then you shouldn't have bought it. I am not in the market for a coffee machine. My coffee pot works totally fine. I'm not in the market for it. And if I was, I'd buy my own. I wouldn't spend $30 for a gift. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Not the asshole. So we're going to the comments. Not the asshole. Your mother-in-law and husband want you to pay for a gift you didn't want and didn't need. Don't pay her and tell her why. You didn't want a coffee machine. Your old one is fine. Why should you pay for a gift you didn't want and tell the husband you're saying? The fact that we even have to tell people this is crazy. Somebody else said, this feels like she's setting a precedent. If OP pays the mother-in-law, she'll likely get the same treatment and get down the road. That's what I said. Go to a fancy restaurant with a $200 bill. Mother-in-law only wants to pay $100, so you have to pay the other $100. Good for you to stand up to her. Right? Mother-in-law buys OP a gift that's really for a husband and then expects OP to pay. Let me see if there's any like high upvoted comments. That's just people are crazy. I would say the husband needs some boundaries. The husband needs to be put into his place too, because that's such a weird. Somebody else said the husband clearly wanted the coffee maker and told mother-in-law about it. Mother-in-law bought it for her son, but gave it to OP as here's a gift because I'm so nice to you, but it's not really for you, but you owe me anyway. The money is a bit strange. It makes me wonder what everyone's financial situation if OP makes way more than the husband. Oh, that's a really good point as well, is maybe OP just is like frugal and makes a lot of money and didn't want to buy it for her husband. It's just crazy. It's so crazy. Somebody said, yep, the umbilical cord. It is now a strangulation cord for OP. Oh, crazy. All right. Well, I feel like that's pretty cut and dry, guys. So moving on to the last one. And before we do, just a reminder that if you've made it this far, please rate, review, and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know how you like the podcast so I can start to decide if this is something I want to continue doing or not. I think it is, but I need to hear from you guys. So take a second. I would appreciate it. It really makes my days when we see those comments. And then we'll be doing a giveaway at the end of the month to give somebody our free or our lazy investors course for free. but we'll be picking from the comments. All right, last one. This was posted 17 days ago. Am I the asshole for not paying our son's college tuition after he blew his money when he was 18 despite being able to afford it? So at 18, we gave our son his college fund, told him he can do as he pleases with it. He chose to spend it traveling and finding himself over the last 2 years. He's 20 now and he wishes to go to school and asked us to pay for his tuition. The audacity. Jesus. All right, continuing. Sorry, I had to react. When I asked what happened to the money, he told us the above, and I said no. And I told him if he wants to go to school, he better get a job. My wife wants to pay it for his future, and I said no, we did the right thing, and he chose otherwise. Am I the asshole? No, you are not the asshole. Number one, it's not your job to pay for your kids' college. Like, yes, if you can and you want to set them up for their life and all that good stuff, absolutely. Like, of course, we want to be able to do that if we can do that. But if this was his college fund and he then spent it on something else, and to be fair, you guys said you can spend it on whatever you want. This is the college fund. You did the work and saving for it. But like, if he's like, okay, I'm going to take this college tuition and I'm going to go spend it on traveling the world and having these amazing experiences for 2 years. Great. That's fantastic. That's amazing. But you can't go back and say, hey, are you guys also going to pay for my college too? It's like, sir, you just paid for you just spent the college fund. And that was a decision you made. Now, granted, he's young, he's 18 years old. So if you guys didn't want to be put in this situation, or if that money was supposed to be for college, you shouldn't have given it to him and said, hey, you can do whatever you want with it. If you had wanted him to use it for college, and you knew he wasn't going to go to college without it, then you should have put more restrictions on it. You shouldn't have said, hey, spend it how you want. So that's kind of like a on you guys thing, is if that money was for college and you gave it to him and you said, go ahead, do what you want with it, that's kind of on you guys. But you gave it to an 18-year-old, you gave him the college tuition. It is his responsibility now to figure out a way to pay for college if that's what he wants to do. So personally, I don't think this person is the asshole, but again, this is the most top rated comment. Not the asshole, but seriously, did you actually expect an 18-year-old to make good choices with that kind of money? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, it's the same thing with like when an 18-year-old goes and gets student loans. Like, did you really think that we knew what we were doing? No, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We didn't know how the reality was. So it's, what did you expect? If you gave him the option, I don't know. I kind of feel like he was this is everyone sucks here. All right. Somebody responded that yes, 18 is old enough to make responsible choices. Otherwise, he wouldn't let them drive or work. I disagree. Somebody responded, said, most 18-year-olds have lived at home with their parents, providing the major things in life, a roof over their head, food on the table, medical care, and a fairly regimented schedule in high school. For the most part, they're usually not ready to make certain adult decisions. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that if they really had wanted it to be for college, they shouldn't have just given it to him. So I don't think you're the asshole, but I think that if that's what it was for, you made a mistake. And now they're at this position of like, well, should I do both? I don't think you should then also go pay for college. You can help them get loans. You can co-sign on some loans to help them do that. But you have to learn that there are consequences to the decisions that you make. So I don't know. It just depends. Like if you guys have so much money that you can then also, here's the thing is even if you are so wealthy that you could also take that money and pay for their college, I would really caution against that because it's like, what is that teaching him? What is that like? I don't know. It's hard to, I'm sure there's something wrong with me thinking that because, I get that we want to set our kids up for success, but are you really setting your kids up for success when you give them everything they want? Like, I don't think that is. I think that you do have to be able to make better decisions and you do have to understand that there are consequences to things. And like you got this amazing 2-year trip around the world, but now this is the consequences of using your college fund for that. You could have gone for a year and paid half of your college fund. But again, like if the parents had really wanted him to go to college, then they should have just paid, like they should have just said, hey, this is for college and you can't spend it on anything else, not just like giving him free reign. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't feel like they're assholes, but I feel like they made a poor decision. Especially if that was the intent. So there are some edits here. Let's look at these edits. We did inform him that the money was his to use, be it for college or whatever. It was his money after all. We set it aside for him. We did explain the intent, but he's an adult and he was free to use it as he pleases. Just understand the consequences. Edit 18 is an adult in my eyes and old enough to understand that actions have consequences. We informed him what the intent was for and that we would not police him over it. End of the end of it was his money and he was free to use it as he pleases. Sorry if I didn't explain this properly beforehand. Edit. My son knows what I do for a living. That said, what I did exactly what my dad. I don't know what that says. I also did not use it to go to school. I used it as a down payment on 2 houses and rented them asked him for help. My son was free to do the same. He may not have the knowledge or impulse control that he is told enough to know it's okay to ask for help and is unsure how to use said money or had an idea what to do with his life. So he's saying like, my son could have, bought a couple of houses. He could have asked what to do with the money. He could have asked what to do with his life. That's kind of the convoluted paragraph. I'm not a monster and he knows this. He could have just asked like, hey, I want to travel. How can I best go about that? He asked and I would have, had he asked, I would have said, let's do XYZ with your money. And then I would have given him some money to travel. When we did the same with his car, he wanted a car. We told him to save. When he saved up an amount he needed to buy a car, I told him to keep it and we bought him a car. He knows I do not think solely to be a cruel monster. He had a bunch of options. He chose the worst one, but I was not going to forcibly interject my views on him if he didn't want to come and ask for my help. The fact that he did not meant to me that he did not want my guidance. It's so hard because like I'm not a parent and I don't know the best way to go about this. It sounds like your son is given a lot and it sounds like you're doing it in a way that's also encouraging hard work and saving and setting aside money, like the whole car situation. I wonder though if with the car situation in high school that he then expected the same thing to happen with this college fund, but obviously it's a much bigger sum of money if he could have bought a few houses with it. So yeah, I don't know. I do think that it was just going about it in the wrong way. I don't think you're an asshole for putting your foot down, but like, it sounds like your 18-year-old or your 20-year-old now is not going to end up in a bad situation because of money. So it's like, go ahead and like make your decisions and go to college and like, we'll save you if you're in a bad situation. But like, you need to go off and make some decisions for yourself. You're 20 years old now. So somebody else agreed and said, I feel like everyone sucks here because you decided to stop being a parent when he turns 18 and gave a teenager the ability to fuck this up. Somebody else said, I agree with everyone sucks here at 18. It was definitely possible for the son to do better, but it was on OP to realize his son needed more guidance. Somebody said he apparently still lives with his parents. I'd say supporting a kid living at home is parenting. There's not much you can do when your 18-year-olds don't want to be parented. I have to disagree with everybody sucks here. OP is still parenting. An important part of parenting is being able to say no. I don't believe OP is leaving their child to be homeless, just refusing to pay for college. I don't see evidence that the child is ready for the stresses and strains and temptations and difficulties of college. I kind of agree with everyone sucks here of just like, if you really wanted to pay for it, or if you really wanted it to be for college, it should have been for college. Somebody else asked a really good question. What did you do prior to that to prepare him for money management and the huge responsibility you just dumped on him? Somebody responded, that's the big question. If I'm being honest here, it sounds like this is more of an issue parents failing to parent a kid who still needs more guidance at 18. They used his age, which is arbitrary because not everyone matures at the same rate to decide that their duty as parents was over. It sounds to me like they failed him. Somebody responded and said, yep, you got a whole lot of people in this thread screaming about he's an adult, but then no one wants to admit that growing up is a transition and it doesn't automatically flip at 18. They're not the asshole for not wanting to pay for his college after they already gave him money, but they sound like shitty parents who didn't properly prepare their kid and naively just wash their hands of further guidance. I really have to wonder, are they a little concerned about their kid's success? I get that people need to learn from the consequences of their own actions, but there has to be a better way to parent than this. So yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I don't think I can't judge somebody's parenting style because like, who the hell knows? I don't freaking know. I don't know. We're all just doing our best, right? I think about that with my upbringing and I think about that with what I would do if I was in this situation, but I wouldn't say they're bad parents. I think that they just maybe didn't approach it in the right way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody else said that I agree, not to be rude, but this does sound like a lazy way to parent your 18-year-old. Almost like OP was expecting him to spend it all, but wasn't his problem because he doesn't have to contribute to it anymore. He didn't ask any questions, didn't make any comments, didn't seem interested in where this was going at all, just waited for the kid to come back and ask for more money so he could go. But where did all this money go that I gave you before? He says he didn't say anything because he assumed since the kid didn't that he didn't want his guidance, but I don't see why he wouldn't check up on his kid about his college funds when that could seriously impact his future. Yes, I agree. It just seems weird. Like, why wouldn't you ask? Or like, Why did it have to be all or nothing? Couldn't you have just said, hey, here's your college fund? Maybe some of this go off and do that. Go travel, it's just like, how did 2 years go by and you not wonder what was going on? And not wonder, like, it does seem like he was almost waiting for his son to come back and say, hey, I need more money to go to college. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So let me know what you think. That was an interesting one. I think it's so nuanced. All of these problems are nuanced, except, I mean, some of them are cut and dry, but let me know what you guys think on the Money Bear Instagram or at Clo Bear Money Coach, because these were some juicy ones. And let me know if you want more Reddit episodes. These are my favorites. So, all right, my friends, I will talk to you all later. I'm going to go pack and get ready to go to Big Bear. I've never been before. I hope it's fun. Me and Logan are going to spend some quality time together. Cash is going to have somebody watching him here. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm ready for some alone time and some rejuvenation. So, all right, I love you all. I'll talk to y'all next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Money Bear podcast. If you've made it this far, do us a favor, take 2 seconds, rate, review, and subscribe. It seriously means the world to me. And if you just take a sec to do that, I will appreciate you endlessly. And if you do, let me know on Instagram and I'll thank you personally. So, got that. And of course, since we were talking about anything financial on this show, please note that nothing on this show is intended as financial advice. I don't know you, unfortunately, and because of that, I cannot tell you what to do with your money. You got to work with a financial professional who knows your situation, who is preferably a fiduciary, and keep in mind that everything that we talk about on this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It's all my opinion. So, there's that. If you want to see our full terms and conditions, head on over to the show notes. And while you're there, we've got free resources for you to get started on your money journey down in the show notes as well, including a free guide to help you with your budgeting templates and budgeting tutorials and investing 101, understanding the different accounts that are out there. All that good stuff is inside of my free guide, which is also available at thelazyinvestorscourse.com/guide. And if you're ready to take our relationship to the next level, I am also hosting a monthly investing class. And that investing class, you can find the times we're offering it this month at thelazyinvestorscourse.com/webinar. That link is in the show notes as well. And that's where you have the chance to meet me live and ask those money questions live. It's a good time. We've had over 20,000 people as of recording this join or register. And yeah, it's always nice to meet you guys. So I hope to see you there. Again, all that is available down in the show notes. So thank you again for coming and listening. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.